Hi, this is Professor Cordes, and this is the Week 4 overview video for English 353 Children's Literature. This week, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at poetry, which is a quintessential for children's literature because poetry is often used during early childhood development stages. And so we are going to take almost kind of like an educational approach to poetry and look at how poetry can help with literacy. How does poetry help us develop language, specifically looking at the different stages of development for a child? Looking at this week, we've got several different readings. We got a couple different activities. We are moving forward with the picture book annotation assignment. Everything's going to be outlined in further detail with additional videos and instructions. I've got lots of ancillary videos that I found for you this week that are just going to be perfect. But we're going to go through right now. I just want to lay out what to expect, what to kind of prepare yourself for mentally. Up here first, you see the overview of the week. We're reading the primary text Inside Out and Back Again. Fantastic read. You'll enjoy that. It is very poetic-like as you go through it, kind of exposing yourself to the language, the rich language. There's a poetry packet, certain poems that we want you to go over, review, be familiar with. There is how picture books work, looking at the idea of how do picture books, illustrations impact this form of developmental literacy, and where poetry plays into that. And then there's another article called Viewing and Doing Visual Literacy Using Picture Books. I'll explain this more in the lecture, but really understanding, ladies and gentlemen, that poetry is a good stepping stone for building language. And we have to, like I've mentioned before, take into consideration the child. What is that? How is that child developing? How is that child learning, articulating the language that is in their culture, is in their environment? And so these small pieces are kind of helping us piece it together. So during the lecture, I'll kind of step back and we'll look at human childhood development and human development and what that means for literacy. But right now, your job is to be exposed to poetry, to kind of absorb and the influence that it has on children. So down below, you'll see your reading as well as the PDFs. I've put a whole bunch of different videos here that will be beneficial for you. You can go through those at your leisure. This first item here is a poetry and pedagogy discussion board assignment. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, deals with our readings, but then it also deals with how do we educate our child, okay? How do we educate children in general regarding literacy, regarding where they are human developmental wise? Where are they in that moment? We have to look at things through a pedagogy perspective. Almost messed up those two words. Because pedagogy is the idea of teaching. How do we offer instruction? And so to do that with poetry, how do we teach poetry well? A lot of kids, especially my high school students, do not like poetry simply because they don't understand it. And it's a different type of language. However, if you were to read a poem, let's say Dr. Seuss or some sort of limerick, to a small child, they would giggle and laugh because of the rhymes and the rhythm of the poem. They don't necessarily need to know great meaning like a high school student would. However, they kind of get a giggle, a laugh out of the way the poem moves along the page. And so we're going to take a look at this poetry and pedagogy discussion. Dr. Bartels does a fantastic job of kind of outlining the assignment. I'm going to leave her video in here because she does a tremendous job of detailing what that looks like. Please remember, there's the rubric here for how we're grading this assignment. You're really looking at the components of how do you teach poetry to that specific age group. Okay, and I'll explain this more in our lectures. But understanding where is the child? When I teach poetry to, let's say, a second grade classroom, it's going to be much different than if I'm teaching to a middle school or a high school classroom. So understand those components. How would you present poetry? So don't think of yourself, well, I'm not going to be an educator. I'm not going to be a teacher. Think to yourself, I still have to present this poem. Still have to present this work. What does that look like? And how do I do that effectively? So this video, which is in the lecture section as well, goes over everything thoroughly. Please take a moment and review that. If you have questions or concerns, let me know. The rubric here, did you complete the assignment? Did you hit the objectives? Are they explained well? Is there an activity? How is the activity described? What's the example like? Did you respond to your classmates? Kind of go in there and identify those different components when you are putting together your work. There's also here the midway reflection. Okay, we are at week 4. By the end of this week, we are halfway through our course. So what this is looking like is just a half-page reflection on where you are. It says here, it gives you some prompts. Consider your goals for the class, whether you're meeting them. Kind of prepare yourself, like maybe what do I need to work on for the next 4 weeks? What have I learned over the last 4 weeks as far as time management? What does that look like? This is a good activity to kind of rest your brain. So if you're going through and you've done all the poetry stuff and you're starting to work on your assignment, or you're kind of taxed from doing the picture book and annotations and you just need a break, reset, take 5-10 minutes to type out half a page of things that you want to do within the next 4 weeks. This is very reflective. So please, hey, this is what's going on. I think I need to manage my time well. Reading is taking me longer than I expected. I'm going to start doing my reading earlier in the week. All of those components, midway reflection. Okay. Last but not least is the picture book annotations. I had mentioned this during week 3 for you to prepare, and now we're jumping into the first part, which is the annotations. So this coincides with your picture book analysis project that's coming up next week. So right now during week 4, your goal is to complete all of those annotations. Dr. Bartles does a good job again of outlining what that looks like. I kind of reviewed it initially, so you can refer back to week 3 if you need a reminder. But you're looking here at getting those picture book annotations, okay? Piecing them through, what is an image that you see? What does the book consist of? There were certain questions that went along with each of the annotations, so it's real simple to answer. Please make sure that you do a thorough job. Each of these, you've got 10 entries all together. So please make sure that you are making sure that each entry hits those requirements. Okay. The other component, you've got the illustration analysis paper, which is due during week 5, as well as the illustration analysis presentation. That's your 5 to 7 minute video, which will be during week 5. So keep those things in your mind, because that's an assignment that we're going to work on during week 5. But if you get a chance to get ahead and you have that opportunity, go for it. Okay. Last but not least are your week 4 reading journal questions. And remember, your reading journal does not get turned in and submitted until week 7, but right now you're doing it slowly so that by the time you get to week 7, you don't have to do 7 weeks of reflection writing. There's some great questions here that talk about our novel, Inside Out and Back Again. It also, in comparison to the Watsons Go to Birmingham, there's the idea of biblical references and spiritual roots that are found within human development, found within poetry. How do we communicate and articulate things well? So that may be something that you can coincide and write about. There's also the poems about, or the packet of poems that you could choose to write about. What was that experience? What stood out to you? If you are completely lost with poetry in itself, there is a basic lecture video that I found, which does a great job of just giving us a general overview. This is what a poem is. This is what rhyme. This is how rhythm works. All of those different things. So if you need a refresher course, that's up there for you as well. Okay. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. We are at the halfway point, so please make sure that you are managing your time well. This has just been the overview video. I'm going to go into the lecture video and begin to talk about human development and the different stages of childhood development and how it corresponds with our assignments. If you are lost, need help, need to bounce some ideas off, send me an email, send me a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.